Hey everybody, it's Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 20th day of July 2020. I need my fan. It's getting warm in here with this candle burning. Plus the air conditioning hasn't come on yet. It must just not be quite down to where I have it set. So I'm waiting for it to kick in, and it's awful. Anyway, I wanted to just go over what the numerology is today. If you haven't seen the esoteric influences yet, or if you're not getting it in your inbox, I wanted to tell you about it simply because the cards. This is the second time I've done this. I'm going to go ahead and keep the cards that I pulled because I like them. But basically, the one card from it, the two, is going to factor in. So that's why I want to talk about that. So. Let's see. It's a two energy. The 20 is reduces to two, but it's interesting because we've got the 7 for the month, the 20 for the day before we reduce it, and then 2020. So you see a 20-20-20 pattern there, that exists. Now, when we take the 2020, we're going to reduce that to 22 and leave it there because that's a master number. That's the cosmic builder, and so we're not going to reduce it. But it is a magnification of the polarity or balance or causative factors found within the two. Okay, now the two really aligns more with the 7 today, and so at least as far as I'm concerned, because letting things settle out, coming to a decision, finding the clarity within it, finding the balance between ego and spirit. So I think it really aligns more with that. But what I said on that today was take a step back and reassess the situation in the event clarity is lacking, particularly if that's true. Understand the cause and effect nature and apply balanced reason to the current situation at hand. Now, the reason that I'm saying this is because when I drew these cards the first time, and like I say, I'm going to keep them, I first drew the 2 of Swords. So the air element and decision and causation and all of that. And I think that it applies to today's numerology really well. Then I drew the Magician, card 1 of the Major Arcana, a soul archetype card. And then I drew the King of Wands. Wands is the fire element. And the King is the King, as we know. If you've been here before, not a fan of the king or the authority, the male authority figures in the deck. I think they do nothing but cause trouble. So anyhow, what I did, I went ahead and put the 2. Normally, I would put whatever major card automatically as the significator. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to have the 2 be the significator. All right. This is about a decision and what we're going to manifest today. Given that it's a 22 year, that's the soul level change, so that's manifesting this year. So I think we want the 2 in the center. And we're going to put the King first because I think that issues of manifestation are what's going on currently in our lives. Whether it's on a personal level, and typically we're dealing with whether or not to wear a mask out in public. Well, today, a lot of the stores, Kroger, I'm not sure if it's today for Walmart or it's the end or a few, I don't know. But soon you're going to see most grocery stores and department stores requiring masks here. Some of them are going to be after today that are going to do it. And I guess one company, I don't know who it is going to do it, I think the 1st of August. So why are you waiting? We already have a mask ordinance in Oregon. So to have the stores now follow suit, it's going to be a lot easier. I'm serious. It's so nice to go into a store and see everybody in a mask. Everyone. It's just, it really lightens things up. It reduces the pressure, reduces the stress and the worry over people that don't have them. Because we've been even though the states required it, people don't. So, Then you get the recall petitions for the governor. It's like, oh, give it up, man. Just give it up, Anyway, let's talk about the 2. see a crescent moon above. We have a new moon today. So, maiden, if you will, that's what that is. Only there you actually see it. So not so much a new moon. But you have a woman in white in her purest state. She's got a blindfold on. Her arms are crossed in front of her, two swords, a sword in each hand. You see the choppy water behind her. Not too choppy, but it's not smooth either. So emotions are involved. So whatever decision she's having to make, whatever balance she's trying to strike, has to do with something that's emotional. You see the rocks in the water. You see the mountains in the distance. There's some challenges for her. So she's turned her back to all of it, to emotion, to the whatever the earth element stuff that's in this. That would be the rocks and the mountains. Whatever practical concerns she has, whatever emotional concerns she has, she's turning her back to all of it, crossing her arms, trying to strike a better balance. We know that it's probably in service of a decision because she's got swords in her hands, and the air element is about intellect, decisions, communication, interaction, justice, fairness, balance, all of that. So something is wrong, something is amiss, and probably surrounding emotions and the practical nature of life, security. Again, this could have to do with the virus. It could have to do with the protests that are going on. It could have to do with any number of things. It could just be a decision in your own life today that you need to make. But it's one that involves having to think about it. And you need to quiet everything else that's going on and go within and figure this out. Now, when we look at the King of Wands and the Magician, let's do it this way, because I kind of want the order. I want this order today. Issues of authority and will with the King. We see his little salamander down there. That's a little fire elemental. We see his red gown that he's wearing. We see he's holding a staff. We see the Ouroboros, the little salamanders from down below, grabbing its tail above. We see 3 of those. We see the lion twice there, a sign of strength and power. Problem is, once again, our king is not looking us in the eye. In theory, if we had the queen up here, he would be looking back at her. I just believe the kings need the queen. I think the kings tend to lack balance inside, okay? I think that they're polarities, and I'm not talking, they don't balance the masculine side of self with the feminine side of self. They don't do that very well. And I think that they need the queen to do it. You'll see the Queen of Swords, especially the one in the Thoth Tarot, where she's reclined on her throne up in the clouds. She's just spent, all right? She's got a sword in one hand that's dripping blood and a severed head in the other of the king. Because she's just had enough, right? She's had enough of his crap, basically. That particular queen does not suffer fools gladly, just like witches don't. She's a witch, just as the Queen of Wands is. And these people do not put up with anything, particularly the nonsense of the king. Whereas I think the Empress is, in terms of the Emperor, is more like, oh, come on, can't you get with the program? We're here to create, not oppress. We're here to we're here to exert authority in a positive way, in a way that blesses and is benevolent, not what you want to do. But again, I think you see more of that, and depending on the deck you're using, of course. But I think you see more of that interaction, evidence between the king and the queen in the court. Just my opinion, anyway. But I think that part of the decision here in terms of manifestation is how does she manifest authority, or how does she respond to authority that's manifested? Because in this case with this king, I think it's a CYA situation, a cover his derriere, a CYD. I think that's what he's doing. I think he's trying to figure out what he can do to preserve his own legacy and his own power. And I think that it's getting in the way of safety and security of the kingdom. Now, if you extrapolate this and push this off onto what's happening to us collectively, we can understand who the king is. And we can understand why he's covering his you-know-what. Because at this point, and now we see I'll come back to at this point, because what we're seeing right now is expressions of violence from the federal government, especially in Portland right now. So, and I talked a little bit about that at the end of Esoteric Influences. But the point here is that instead of looking us in the eye and dealing fairly with us, he's going to cover his you-know-what. And instead of, because people aren't listening to him anymore, so now he's going to exert some weird kind of control. I guess they're going to come out this week and talk about that. They're going to try to find some way to circumvent Congress and establish laws that he's doing, which he can't do. Right? So we're going to have this massive upheaval vis-a-vis the government, just not in the way that it was promised, right? That he promised his supporters. In other words, instead of fixing the problem, he is the problem. He's the truest expression of the problem. And so the catalytic energy that he brought to this whole thing to stimulate change, he's actually giving us the reason every single day he's there why we need to. And it doesn't have anything to do with putting his way in place. His way is the bad way. His way is the way that we need to get rid of. So instead of draining the swamp, he filled it. And it's all on display for all of us to witness and be subjected to. So clear back the clutter, sure. Clear back the deception, put the deception in full view. Bring it out front. So that's, I think, what we're seeing. And that's the CYA moment of the king here. I'm not going to look at you. I'm not going to look at you in the eye. I'm just going to look back and try to hang on to what I got till someone takes it from me. So, issues of authority, either how you express it or how you're having to contend with someone else's expressions of authority, I think at least one leg of this. Like maybe how do I come across today? If this is a personal thing, how do I come across today? Am I going to cover my own you-know-what on things, or am I going to be honest? Right? How am I going to manifest? Now, I liken the magician to the 22 energy of the year, because again, this is the soul manifesting into form. Okay, that's the first 4 cards, if you count the Fool, through the Empress, are your 4 cards of manifestation. And how are we going to do that? Here we're going to do it in balance, elemental balance. We see the beautiful lilies and the beautiful roses below, denoting the abundance of form that can be. We see the abundance of spirit above there with the garlands above, the roses. We see the lemniscate above the magician's head, symbolizing cycles, the cycle of life. Begin, birth, life, and death, right? Birth, life, it's the whole thing we do over and over and over again whenever we manifest into our soul, a piece of our soul into form. You see all 4 tools on his work table of manifestation. Swords for the air element, the pentacle for the earth element, the chalice for the water element, and the wand for the fire element. He's got his hands in, one contains the Torah right here, over here, a scroll, which is likely the Torah, the Word of God, manifested into form, as above, so below. We see the same in the Devil card, but in that regard, you don't see a Torah or a scroll pointed to heaven, but instead you see a fiery torch that's lit, pointed toward earth, showing misuse of force or a slave to desire or a slave to ego, not actually a devil. Witches don't believe in a devil person. That's the ego. The devil is the ego within. It's turning away from goddess presence, is turning away from source presence, and choosing to separate and to act on your own. Because your own is the ego's own, not the spirit's own. You forget spirit's there, you ignore it, and you function only on the level of the ego. That's the devil. Okay? Lucifer was just an angel. I don't know. But because he asserted himself, he's like, oh, he's the devil now? Really? Okay. Well, as they co-opted it, certainly some people did. I'm just saying I'm not so sure that's what that was. That's all. Don't at me, okay? I don't worship the devil. I'm not a Satanist. I'm an herbalist and a witch. That's all I am. But here, what are we going to manifest? We're going to manifest from spirit. Here we're going to manifest from ego. I mean, that's the simplest way of looking at this. And this is the decision we need to make today. Are we going to remain in dignity? Or are we going to devolve and circle the drain with you know, what's his name? So I think that's really, I don't think we need any more cards, do you? We have a 3 energy for this today. So again, mind, body, spirit balance. What are we going to manifest? It's catalytic. So let's go ahead. I'm letting the runes fall through my fingers here until I get the last one. And we have Rado. Rider and horse. Momentum. Integrated motion with others. We're going to draw this one out, though, because it's got a lot of stuff in it. It's a bind rune in and of itself. I'm losing my voice. Oh, my goodness. We did our hay. We had somebody come and cut our hay, and it's up, and it's in a stack. And it's so cool. And I mean, this is the first time in a little over, I think, 20 years that since we've had anybody come and cut our hay. We have a small field. It's only like a 3-acre pasture that we cut. And so they don't want to do it because it's just too small. A lot of times you get onto people's pastures and there's rocks in the field or what have you. And so, you know, it's one thing, you know, if you're using a sickle bar mower, this guy was using a different one, kind of like a brush cutter type of thing, or 2 circular discs that were mowing it. And, oh, it did an excellent job. Oh, my goodness. My husband wants one of those for our tractor, but we have a sickle bar mower, and we had just finished refurbishing the tractor, but we don't have a rake or a baler. So his son came by and said, can we do it? My husband's like, sure. But we don't have any rocks in our field, okay? And so we had some stuff growing out there that had spread, like St. John's wort, and they want to take that out. So they were taking all that out. But other than that, they didn't have to worry about the rocks. But that's why they don't like to do it. Because if you get on there and say the cutting of it doesn't pick up a rock, because maybe you're using a sickle bar mower, it doesn't really affect it. Say you're doing that, but then by the time you get to baling, oh my goodness, it'll break a baler. Rocks will break a baler, and so you can't have rocks in your field. That's why they don't like to do it. It's like it's too small, and they're afraid of what they're going to find. Well, you know, we're going to spring tooth it after, you know, prior to the fall, and from that point forward, you know, it's going to be smoother, and they're indicating they want to come back next year. So that would be very cool if we could get hay again. We're just going to use it for our chickens, but we also might buy a cow for us and our kids, split it, you know, grow a cow up. We might do that too. We're just going to think about it, but we got it. But unfortunately, it's just released all this stuff into the air, and my allergies are going crazy. So I get in here, and oh gosh, I can't breathe, and I can't talk, and it's just awful. Anyway, here's Rado. Now, we've talked about this before. I like to explode these out and show you all the different runes that you can see within them. Some of them, like Isa, is just a line, and we see that here, the 11th rune of the Elder Futhark, and we're talking, it's a Norn rune of the present moment. It's ego contraction, it's will development, it's alignment and spirit. Transmutation, really, just through that alignment alone. We also have Laguz, or flow of spirit into form. We have Vunyo, fellowship and joy with others. Again, a spiritual type of experience. And we have Kenaz 3 times. And the one down below is kind of skewed, but still, the torch or the light of spirit. Again, informing this integration with others. I don't have that on here. But the idea behind Rado is that you're going forward. If you think rider and horse, you get to it. I'm not a horse person. My husband grew up with horses, but we don't have horses here. He just thought it was just going to be too expensive. He just didn't want to deal with it ever. So we've never had horses. I would have loved to have had them. I love to ride horses. I just think it's fantastic. But I like that integrated movement with an animal. I like that. It's why I have this innate sense with animals. They communicate with me, and they always have. Animals that are fussy around other people will not be so around me. You know, in Alaska, I grew up in Alaska for a while, and we had sled dogs. And so there was a summer there where we had one of our friends went outside for the summer. That's what it's called when you leave Alaska. Here's the perspective of Alaska. You're either inside the state or you're outside the state. So you don't go on vacation, you go outside for the summer, okay? That's how it's put, all right? So we had these friends, went outside for the summer, we took their sled dogs. So I had over 125 dogs to take care of that summer. Now I was just in little witch heaven, right? With all these animals, it was just incredible. So half of them were mine, half of them were our friends. But I would feed them and talk to them and minister to them and heal them, you know, with my little potions and whatnot, whether they needed healing or not. And I used cranberries a lot back then anyway, because we had fresh cranberries, the little Alaskan version of them, wild everywhere. But anyway, I just ended up with this weird affinity with animals. When I was pregnant, I had a couple of Holstein cows, and when I was pregnant the second time, and they wouldn't leave me alone. They'd come up, if I had shorts on, they'd come up and they'd lick my leg. I mean, they would not leave me alone. And so I have this, and so with Rado, when I think rider and horse, I think about that affinity where you almost intuitively interact with that animal, with that horse. The horse knows you so well, it knows whatever little pressure you put, which way it needs to go. You don't need to do anything really to it. Just a little slight movement and it knows where to go. And that's the kind of integrated potential that we have today when we figure out how to integrate, you know, ego with spirit. How are we going to manifest, in other words, that integrated experience with other people? Because you aren't going to be alone in your expression. There's going to be someone else. If you're going to choose ego, they're going to feel that. People are going to feel that type of focus, that type of expression. Whereas, if you manifest from the standpoint of spirit, they're going to feel that too. So which kind of experience do you think is going to be better for everyone? And so that's what I think that the decision that has to be made today is really all about. How are we going to integrate with others? Are we going to do it from a standpoint of spirit or ego? And then how that manifests in terms of maybe the pandemic we're all dealing with is maybe we wear a mask when we go out. Maybe we were struggling with that idea before. But today we know differently. Well, I mean, the stores are going to force you into doing it, I guess. I don't know how they're going to do that, but now you have to, you know, even at Walmart. So I shouldn't say even at Walmart, especially at Walmart. We were in there and most people, because of the mask order here in Oregon, people were in masks, but there were a few that weren't, and they were very, very, very proud of themselves for not being so. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, how they're going to enforce this now. And I hope that they do. I hope that they don't leave it to the checkers to do that. I hope that they have security or people functioning as security that will take that burden off their staff, you know, wander about and say, no, with masks in their hands and say, here you go. You forgot your mask. I have one right here for you. Just for you. Yeah. I have no idea how that's going to go, but, you know, hopefully today we're going to make the right choice, right? I don't know. Let's look at the geomancy rune, and I hope you watched that. I'm kind of pleased, really. with how that geomancy thing turned out. That was actually, I've been worried about it, because I knew I was going to do 3 of them, and I was worried, and I had everything all planned out, had all my notes, had all the forms, everything, and it's like, oh geez, So I finally I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I did it, and I did all 3 at once, and that was after doing the esoteric influences for the day. So I did 4 videos that day, and it was Saturday I did it. But anyway, what we've got here today is, I'm trying to see if this is Acquisitio or Emissio. Yeah, this is Acquisitio. Okay, so if you watched that, I'm going to draw this again. Acquisitio is about gain, and whereas its complement is Emissio, and that's about loss. But again, it's not necessarily a value judgment or emotion based or anything. It's just an increase versus a decrease. It could be something as simple as that. So, I mean, it doesn't even have to, I mean, it's really that broad. So it could be something like, say you're having an argument with a friend, and if you had Emissio, that could mean that the argument's over. Not necessarily the loss of the friend, but just that the argument's over. So you have to be very careful, some of these runes, how you interpret them, because they really are so broad, it really means increase or decrease in this case. And here we're talking increase with Acquisitio. So I guess you're going to have to decide then which gets amplified today, ego or spirit. So are you going to see an increase of one or the other? In other words, in terms of how you either respond to authority today or manifest authority today. One of the examples I talked about, one of the things I talked about on the esoteric influences for today was this guy that they're calling Captain Portland. He's a 53-year-old, I think he was a CB Navy guy, lieutenant. He was in the Navy for like 8 years, I think. Anyhow, he came down there because he didn't like all this federal stuff that's going on, because they're unmarked. You can't do that. There's just a lot of constitutional issues. Well, they're all constitutional issues with what's going on in Portland right now. And evidently it's part of a pilot program where they're going to take it nationwide and just infiltrate states who don't want them and cause problems, basically. Well, this 53-year-old man, Captain Portland, it's not his name, but Captain Portland, they beat him. We've seen the video. Y'all have seen it. He just stood there like a tree, and his back was to the video. And and he's big. I guess he's 6'2". These little thugs are, He stood there, took the beating, didn't flinch. And welcome to Portland, guys. No one else is going to flinch either. Anyway, they have no idea who we are in Oregon. Everyone thinks we're these liberal snowflakes. Oh boy, are you wrong about us. Anyway, so he's standing there, and all he wanted to do was to come down there. First protest he's ever attended. Just wanted to talk to these guys about what they're doing and the constitutional issues surrounding it. Again, Navy guy, lieutenant, retired, 53. They beat him, and then they sprayed him in the face with whatever that stuff is, mace or pepper spray or whatever it is. And it's not just a little spritzer. No. They gush it. It's one of those things that gushes it out. Well, he turned around, he took it, he turned back around, flipped him off with both fingers. And with the hand that's broken, I guess he has to have surgery, he said on Friday. It came on Twitter. I followed him. I don't care if he follows me back. I just don't care. I want to find out. I want to stay with this guy and find out how he's doing and all of that. And I recommend it's Taserface16 is his handle. And so follow him. Just check in with him. Make sure he's doing okay. Again, he says he's going to have surgery on his hand on Friday. I don't know, talking about pins and a plate. I don't know. Or it's either his hand or his wrist or something here. But anyway, that's happening on Friday for him. And so we want to wish him well because he stood for us. But he wasn't the only one. We had moms come out and they linked arms, and they're out there again 2 days in a row. And I would imagine they've said they're going to be out every day for the duration, but they're standing between the protesters, linking arms. And one of them was pregnant, and they got gassed. Okay, they got gassed by these idiots, and they what she did, or I don't know what happened to the pregnant woman, but what they're saying is that they're going to be out there every day. They're standing between the protesters, linking arms between them and the thugs. Everybody and his brother in government has said, get out of our state. They're not going. They better. They need to go. This is going to court. They've already filed suits. Several lawsuits have been filed. And this isn't going to end well for them. They can't, look, the feds don't come in unless you ask them. If you tell them don't come in, they don't come in. They might be there in the wings waiting and ready just in case you need them, but they don't interfere. Not unless you ask for it. No one's asking for it. They're saying go away, right? So again, how we integrate with others, how we express authority, how we manifest truth and spirit seems to be all wrapped up in these amazing expressions of peace and honor and dignity by both Captain Portland and the moms. I think someone, and I love the whole Antifa. Do you even know what Antifa means is short for? It's anti-fascism. You know what that means? It means you're against fascism. So now they're calling these women Mom Tifa. It was cute. I thought it was cute. But someone's going to co-opt it and make it something that it wasn't meant to be. But it was a joke. It's like, okay, Antifa, well, now you got Mom Tifa. See how ridiculous that is? These are mothers wanting to protect protesters. They made a decision. So did Captain Portland. It came down on spirit and protection and benevolence and truth and honor and dignity. So that's the game, isn't it? It's the profound 22-year, the soul level change that sets us on the better course of benevolence and peace and dignity and integration with one another. No, we're not going to always agree, and that's fine. That's how innovation takes place, doesn't it? Where someone says, wait a minute, I think I have an idea, and it's totally different than what we're doing. And everyone then should say, oh, well, share. And then if it's the better way, we switch gears. Maybe we argue about it. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? But it's in service to something else. It's in service to a collective path. It doesn't mean that we all become sheep together. No, quite the opposite. It means that conversations can actually happen. If it ends up as garbage, well, through the conversation, we're going to know it's garbage. Put it out on the table. Let's discuss it. If it has merit, maybe we'll do it. But if not, then we're all going to know and everyone's going to go, yeah, okay, whatever. We'll keep doing this. Or maybe we can find a way to make this better. Whatever. But the conversation happens, not this. Okay? And I really think that that's really what the 2 is telling us today. Where are we going to come down on that? Are we going to come down on the ego side of the king? Of misplaced will, because Wands is the fire element in our will? He can't even look you in the eye as he's sending his thugs into Portland and other cities around the country that just happen to be Democrat-based cities, right? Where the numbers for the Democrats are more than the Republicans. Yeah, you see the game that's being played. Because that's what it is. And right now, we just have to weigh out, and that's what she's doing. Dispassionately, turned away from the chaos of emotions, away from all the security issues and foundational issues that we're trying to cope with, turns her back to all of it so that she can think and come to some kind of an aligned perspective so she knows what she needs to do. And I guarantee you, given the purity of her dress, the white color of her dress, she's going to come down on the side of spirit. How do I manifest this in my life so that I get out of the problems created by the kingly aspect of self that does not know how to manage authority in a benevolent and peaceful and respectful way? Again, cannot look you in the eye. deception, always. So instead, Rado's telling us, go forward in shared purpose with others. Lest the horse buck you off. I guess that's it. Thanks for watching, you guys. We'll come back tomorrow and do it all over again. But until then, be very safe today in whatever you're doing, whether it's going to the grocery store or whether it's out protesting. If you're a mom who's out there linking arms with other moms, I love you. I totally love you. You're just amazing. And to Captain Portland, well done. Well done, sir. And thank you so much for your service and your continued service. So, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. Wear a mask if you go out. And blessed be.